You wake up feeling heavy, swollen, or a little more tired than you used to. Your joints complain in quiet ways, your digestion feels unpredictable, and sometimes even your mood doesn't feel like your own. You tell yourself it's just age. But what if some of these signals were linked to tiny, everyday habits you never even noticed? And what if one of the mistakes was sitting inside your kitchen right now, hidden in the way you prepare something as simple as garlic? Stay with this video until the end, because you're about to discover 7 everyday garlic mistakes that silently affect your well-being, along with the simple fixes that can completely transform how your body feels. From this point forward, the narrator gently guides the viewer into the heart of the message. After creating an emotional connection in the opening moments, the story now shifts to clarity and purpose. The idea is simple. People over 50 rely on little daily habits: cooking, seasoning, preparing meals often, without realizing how much impact these small decisions have on their well-being. Garlic, a familiar ingredient that has been part of kitchens for generations, becomes the central character in this journey. It is well known for its natural properties, for supporting vitality, and for contributing to a balanced lifestyle. Yet even something so simple can lose its benefits when used in the wrong way. The video begins explaining that today the viewer will finally understand the 7 everyday mistakes almost everyone makes with garlic. Mistakes that alter its flavor, its usefulness, and its potential to support physical well-being. And, more importantly, each mistake will be paired with its fix, easy adjustments that fit naturally into any routine, especially for people who want to feel lighter, more energetic, and more in control of their daily habits. The viewer is reminded that this content is fully educational and informational, not a substitute for professional guidance. Everyone has unique needs, and if there is any doubt about a personal condition of health, a conversation with a qualified specialist is always recommended. The narrator begins with the first common mistake: using garlic while it is still too fresh from the cutting board. A surprising number of people don't know that the moment garlic is chopped, sliced, or crushed, its natural compounds need a brief moment of air contact to activate their full potential. People in their 50s and beyond often prepare meals quickly, sometimes rushing through the steps to get dinner on the table. In the process, they toss garlic straight into the pan the second it is cut. This small habit may seem harmless, but it affects the aroma, the taste, and the overall benefit of the ingredient. The narrator paints a vivid picture: someone coming home after a long day, tired, hungry, wanting something warm and comforting. They grab a clove of garlic, chop it quickly, throw it into the pan, and move on. It is a scene so common, so relatable, and yet it highlights the importance of understanding how to get the best out of simple food preparation. The fix is simple. After chopping or crushing garlic, allow it to rest for a brief moment, just enough time to let the natural compounds interact with oxygen. This tiny pause, barely noticeable in the flow of cooking, can change everything. Viewers are encouraged to see this as a moment of self-care, a symbol of slowing down, breathing, and respecting the rhythm of their own bodies. Just as garlic needs a moment to develop its natural qualities, people too need moments to reconnect with themselves. Narrator connects this idea to the broader goal of improving vitality, supporting digestion, and maintaining a balanced lifestyle. The video transitions to the second mistake: overheating garlic. This is a common kitchen error that many people make without realizing it. When garlic is exposed to very high heat for too long, it burns quickly, creating a bitter taste and diminishing its positive characteristics. The narrator uses gentle humor, describing that garlic can be a little temperamental, needing careful attention, just like an old friend with a sensitive spirit. Many viewers will recall times when they added garlic to a pan that was already too hot, only to watch it turn dark brown in seconds. It is not just a matter of flavor burned. Garlic can affect the entire dish, leaving the person feeling disappointed or frustrated, especially after putting effort into preparing a meal. To fix this mistake, the narrator suggests adding garlic later in the cooking process, or lowering the heat slightly, letting the ingredient warm slowly instead of being shocked by intense heat. This small kitchen hack allows the ingredient to release its aroma gently, creating a more pleasant cooking experience. The narrator connects this again to real life. Just as garlic performs best when treated gently, the viewer's body benefits from gentle routines, steady sleep, balanced meals, mindful habits. It is a subtle reminder that well-being is rarely about big decisions. Rather, it is shaped by consistent, thoughtful actions. The third mistake touches the heart of food preparation: storing garlic incorrectly. People often keep garlic in places where moisture, light, or heat can damage it over time. Some place it in the refrigerator, others leave it near the stove, and some store it in sealed containers that trap humidity. All of these habits seem harmless, but they can affect the aroma, texture, and freshness of the ingredient. The narrator describes scenes many viewers know well: garlic sprouting unexpectedly, cloves turning soft, or losing their natural scent. These little frustrations interrupt the flow of cooking and reduce the enjoyment of preparing meals. The fix is once again simple and practical. Store garlic in a cool, dry, well-ventilated place. A small basket, a breathable container, or even a paper bag works well. The viewer is invited to treat garlic the same way they treat their own routines, allowing space, air, and balance. The message remains warm, encouraging, and grounded in everyday experience. The narrator emphasizes that such attention to detail is not about perfection. It is about respect for the body and the moments of life spent in the kitchen. The fourth mistake involves pre-chopped garlic from jars. Many people, especially those with busy lives or reduced hand mobility, rely on convenience. While there is nothing wrong with making things easier, pre-packaged garlic often has added ingredients to preserve it, affecting its natural flavor and reducing the richness of its aroma. The narrator approaches this topic gently, acknowledging that every household has its own rhythm and that convenience can be necessary, especially for people who experience discomfort in their hands or wrists. The goal is not to criticize but to inform. The fix offered is flexible whenever possible. Use fresh garlic. If convenience is needed, consider preparing a small batch of chopped garlic at home and storing it in the freezer for future use. This simple hack ensures practicality while preserving more of the ingredients' natural qualities. Again, the narrator reminds viewers that these tips are simply ways to support well-being and make everyday habits more enjoyable. Moving into the fifth mistake, the narrator highlights a very common oversight: removing too much of the garlic's inner core or discarding cloves that appear slightly different. Many people over 50 are familiar with the feeling of wanting everything to look just right, especially in the kitchen. They remove parts of the garlic that are still perfectly usable. This habit leads to waste and reduces the value of the ingredient. The narrator gently encourages viewers to look at garlic with new eyes, understanding that slight variations in color or appearance are natural and not necessarily signs of spoilage. The fix is straightforward: trust your senses. If garlic smells fresh, feels firm, and has its natural aroma, it is perfectly good to use. This becomes a metaphor for self-perception as people age. Just as garlic does not need to be flawless to be valuable, neither do people. The narrator weaves this emotional connection subtly, reinforcing self-acceptance and understanding. The sixth mistake is about peeling garlic the hard way. Many people use old methods that consume time and energy, making cooking more tiring than it needs to be. For people over 50, hand strain can become a real challenge, making repetitive movements uncomfortable. The narrator acknowledges this physical reality with empathy. Preparing food should feel pleasant, not exhausting. The fix is a useful kitchen hack. Gently crush the garlic with the side of a knife to loosen the peel, or soak the cloves briefly in warm water. These small steps make the process easier and more enjoyable. The viewer is reminded that the kitchen can be a place of comfort, not stress, and that little tricks like these protect both time and physical well-being as the development continues. The narrator moves toward the seventh mistake, ignoring how garlic interacts with certain ingredients. Many people pair garlic with foods that overshadow or suppress its natural qualities. For example, combining it with very heavy oils or adding it at the wrong time in the cooking process can reduce its flavor and impact. This is again connected to real-life habits. Sometimes people multitask while cooking, adding ingredients without thinking about the sequence. The narrator explains that timing can make a dish feel more balanced, lighter, and more digestible, something especially important for individuals who value comfort and physical well-being after meals. The fix is thoughtful. Consider the flow of the dish. Allow garlic to be part of the foundation of the flavor, but not overwhelmed by stronger ingredients. This mirrors the idea that a balanced routine, just like a balanced meal, creates a more pleasant experience for the body and mind. Toward the end of the development, the narrator gently reminds viewers again that the information presented is purely educational, based on evidence and reliable sources, focused on helping them make mindful decisions in daily life. Garlic has been studied for decades in nutritional and culinary research. Publications from trusted institutions, such as university food science departments and nutritional studies featured in well-established journals, reinforce the value of proper garlic use. The narrator avoids medical claims and instead highlights that garlic, when used correctly, simply supports a lifestyle aimed at better vitality and emotional balance. This entire development phase maintains a rhythm that is both calming and informative. It does not rush, but it also does not drag. Each idea flows naturally into the next, always returning to the emotional and practical needs of people over 50: comfort, clarity, ease of use, and the desire to feel better in their daily routines. The narrator closes this section by promising that the conclusion will bring all these ideas together, showing how small changes can create meaningful transformations. The narrator continues by reinforcing that the purpose of exploring these 7 garlic mistakes is not to create fear or guilt, but to empower the viewer. Many people over 50 have spent a lifetime cooking, feeding families, creating memories around the table, and developing their own habits. These habits, formed over decades, are often based on convenience or tradition rather than updated knowledge about how ingredients work. Garlic, being such a familiar part of daily meals, becomes an ideal example of how simple adjustments can make everyday life lighter and more enjoyable. To deepen this understanding, the narrator introduces relatable moments, those small, almost invisible situations that reveal how people interact with food. For example, there is the person who rushes to prepare a quick meal after a long afternoon of errands, feeling that sense of physical heaviness that sometimes appears after 50. They chop garlic hurriedly, drop it into the pan, and continue cooking without realizing the difference that a tiny pause would make. Or the viewer who enjoys preparing meals for loved ones but struggles with hand discomfort when peeling garlic the old-fashioned way. These real-life scenes help the audience recognize themselves, their habits, and their own desires for comfort, good taste, and well-being. The narrative reinforces that garlic is more than a seasoning. It is a small cornerstone of flavor, a quiet but powerful presence in the kitchen. When used correctly, it supports dishes that feel more balanced, more comforting, and easier to digest. When used carelessly, it can create frustration-burnt flavors, wasted ingredients, and the sense that cooking is becoming more tiring than it should be. The narrator explains that understanding these mistakes helps restore joy to the kitchen, especially for those who have begun to feel that cooking has turned into a chore rather than a moment of pleasure. One powerful example involves timing the art of letting garlic rest after chopping, then cooking it gently. The narrator describes the difference between a rushed dinner and a mindful one. In the rushed version, everything happens too fast. Garlic burns, ingredients clash, the aroma loses its warmth. But in the mindful version, the kitchen feels different. The garlic rests briefly, the heat stays steady, the aroma slowly fills the room. The meal becomes not only more flavorful but also less heavy and more comforting, offering a sense of emotional and physical balance. Another scenario focuses on storage, which becomes especially relevant for viewers who live alone or cook for 1 or 2 people. Garlic stored incorrectly becomes soft or sprouted, leading to waste and frustration. The narrator gently suggests that proper storage reduces stress and encourages healthier habits by keeping ingredients fresh and enjoyable. This perspective reminds the audience that even the smallest choices contribute to better well-being. As the narrative progresses, the narrator weaves in the importance of intuitions, something many people over 50 have developed through years of experience. Trusting the senses, noticing how garlic smells or feels, helps avoid unnecessary waste. Just like people learn to recognize what their bodies need, they also learn to recognize what good ingredients look like. Garlic becomes a metaphor for aging. It doesn't need perfection to have value. With proper handling, even cloves that appear slightly imperfect can still contribute to a delicious meal. This message supports emotional well-being as much as practical cooking guidance. The narrator then returns to the idea of pre-chopped garlic. While fresh garlic is ideal, convenience is an important factor in many households. Instead of framing pre-chopped garlic as a negative choice, the narrator frames it as a flexible tool, something that can be used mindfully. Preparing a small batch of chopped garlic at home and storing it safely in the freezer offers a balance between convenience and quality. This helps viewers who experience hand strain or who want to simplify their routines while still supporting their well-being and vitality. Physical comfort is another important theme woven naturally into the content. People over 50 often pay closer attention to how their bodies respond to different foods. Heavy meals may affect sleep quality or create discomfort after eating. Garlic, when used the wrong way, can contribute to meals that feel too dense or overseasoned, affecting digestion and emotional comfort. The narrator speaks gently about these experiences, using phrases such as physical well-being, emotional balance, and improving vitality, which help the viewer remember that cooking should be a nourishing experience, not an exhausting one. The narrator also shares a subtle reminder that each person has different needs and that personal health conditions may influence what feels best. Garlic itself is a natural ingredient, but even natural foods behave differently for each individual. This is why paying attention to personal sensations, comfort, energy, digestion helps guide better choices. And once again, the narrator reinforces that if any discomfort or doubt arises, seeking the guidance of a qualified health specialist ensures safety and clarity. To keep the narrative grounded and credible, the narrator explains that these insights come from reliable sources such as culinary research departments, food science studies from universities, and publications focusing on nutrition and cooking behavior. These institutions explore how ingredients behave under different conditions, how preparation techniques influence flavor, and how mindful cooking practices support general well-being. The narrator is careful to maintain a tone that is informative but never alarmist, using evidence in a natural conversational way. At this stage, the viewer is fully immersed in the journey. They understand not only the mistakes but also why each detail matters. They see how garlic preparation influences flavor, digestion, emotional balance, and the overall experience of cooking. The narrator now expands the lens, showing how this knowledge integrates into a broader lifestyle. The kitchen becomes a symbol of daily choices, little habits that shape the rhythm of life, offering either comfort or stress. When the viewer applies the right garlic tips, it becomes a small act of self-care, something that improves meals and brings a sense of satisfaction into the routine. Another emotional layer is added when the narrator speaks about legacy. Many people over 50 learned to cook from parents, grandparents, or loved ones now gone. Garlic was often present in these memories. By learning the correct ways to prepare it, the viewer not only improves their meals but honors these traditions with new knowledge. It's a simple yet touching connection that reinforces the emotional relevance of the topic. As the narrative approaches the transition to the conclusion, the narrator highlights one final theme: empowerment. Knowing how to use garlic correctly gives the viewer the confidence to cook with more clarity, purpose, and joy. It turns something ordinary into something meaningful. This is not just about food preparation, it is a reflection of how small, consistent adjustments can improve daily life, prevent unnecessary stress, and support a more balanced routine. The narrator then gently prepares the audience for the closing message. The viewer has now walked through a journey of awareness, understanding mistakes, learning fixes, and recognizing how something as simple as garlic influences well-being. The conclusion will tie everything together, offering encouragement, clarity, and a renewed sense of possibility. As the journey comes to an end, the narrator shifts into a tone of reassurance and quiet strength. The viewer has just learned 7 simple truths about garlic, teeny adjustments that bring more flavor, more comfort, and more balance to daily life. And now, the narrator gently reinforces the heart of the message. Small changes matter. The conclusion opens by reminding the viewer that nothing shared in this video requires dramatic effort, sacrifice, or complicated routines. Each tip, each correction, each kitchen hack is easy, practical, and ready to apply in the very next meal. These are the kinds of habits that quietly transform well-being, the kind that make the body feel lighter, the mind calmer, and the kitchen a place of joy rather than stress. What you choose to do with a single clove of garlic can shape the entire atmosphere of your home, your digestion, your comfort, and even your emotional balance after eating. Many people over 50 believe that improving daily vitality requires big decisions or strict changes, but the narrator now gently challenges that belief. Sometimes, the real transformation begins with details so small that they are almost invisible, like letting garlic rest for a moment, storing it properly, using the right heat, trusting your senses, or peeling it in a way that protects your hands. These moments of awareness carry power. They show respect for your body, your routine, and your personal history in the kitchen. They help prevent delicate situations, reduce unnecessary frustration, and bring a sense of control back into daily life. The narrator emphasizes that cooking is more than feeding the body, it is a form of emotional care. When you prepare food with attention, when you choose ingredients with intention, you give yourself a chance to breathe, to slow down, and to reconnect with your own rhythm. These garlic tips are not simply tricks, they are part of a lifestyle that supports well-being, stability, and a more peaceful mind. They encourage you to listen to what your body needs, to bring warmth into your home, and to appreciate the wisdom you've gathered across the years. Once again, the narrator clarifies gently that everything in this video is educational and informational, not a substitute for professional guidance. Each person has unique needs, preferences, and conditions of health, and whenever a question or doubt appears, seeking the orientation of a qualified specialist is always the safest and most empowering path. Knowledge is not meant to replace professional care, it is meant to complement it, giving you clarity and confidence in your daily decisions. To reinforce credibility, the narrator briefly acknowledges the foundation of reliable research that inspired these insights. Food science studies from respected universities, culinary research published in well-established journals, and evidence-based observations from experienced nutrition educators all point to the importance of proper food preparation. These sources highlight how ingredients respond to heat, air, storage, and timing, simple factors that shape both flavor and comfort during meals. This gives the viewer reassurance that the guidance offered here is thoughtful, trustworthy, and grounded in real knowledge. The narrator then brings the story back to the viewer because ultimately, this journey has always been about them, about their comfort, their energy, their sense of balance, their desire to feel at home in their own body. It's about understanding that age does not diminish the ability to grow, improve, or embrace new habits. If anything, it enhances the wisdom needed to choose what truly matters. The conclusion becomes more intimate now, reminding the viewer that they deserve a daily life that feels good, that supports their physical well-being and emotional stability. They deserve meals that bring joy rather than discomfort, routines that feel manageable rather than overwhelming, and moments that remind them of their own value. Garlic becomes a simple ingredient with the power to teach awareness, intention, and small acts of self-care. With a warm and steady voice, the narrator delivers the final message. Small habits become big results. When you fix the 7 garlic mistakes shared today, you are not only improving your cooking, you are improving the quality of your life, one quiet choice at a time. You are giving your body the respect it deserves. You are taking control of your well-being in a gentle, natural, and sustainable way. And today you gain the knowledge to make every dish more balanced, more comforting, and more aligned with your needs. The narrator closes with a soft but powerful call to action. If the viewer found meaning in this journey, if they felt seen or understood, if they recognized their own habits and learned something new, they are invited to stay connected. They are encouraged to interact, to share their thoughts, to continue growing with a community that values clarity, vitality, and self-care. They are reminded that this space exists for them, an environment where learning is simple, where their experiences matter, and where every small improvement is celebrated. Finally, the narrator leaves the viewer with a gentle reflection, one that lingers not just in the mind, but in the heart. Your life is shaped by the choices you make every day. And sometimes, the greatest transformations begin in the quietest corners of your routine. Even in the way you prepare a single clove of garlic.